The pick is in.
49th pick, the Cincinnati Bengals select Demetrius Knight Jr., linebacker, South Carolina. Let's bring in Locked On Bengals host Jake Lisco. And Jake, I just saw a tweet, something that you actually reposted that Demetrius Knight Jr. said, and it's, quote, "I am an athletic linebacker who can play in space. I can also come downhill and fill gaps in the run. I am a do-it-all linebacker." Do you feel like he's a do-it-all guy for the Bengals? Or could
The
be?
Bengals certainly do. They see him as essentially a younger Jermaine Pratt, although not much younger. 25 years old at the time of the draft. He's going to be one of the older players we see picked in the first 3 rounds, but the Bengals are going to ask him to come in and start right away. I'll be surprised if Jermaine Pratt is on the team by training camp. I think this is a direct replacement for a player they were not anticipating being part of the team going forward, and a guy that's going to fill a similar role. I think they're going to have to ask him to. He runs well. I mean, he ran a 4.53, I think, at the combine. A little bit of stiffness in coverage. He's going to be a good downhill player, a good blitzer. But the big takeaway for me when I think about this pick is related to something Zach Taylor had to say about the pick in his presser when he was introducing the selection for the Bengals. He said it felt for them like the wait a few years ago where they were just watching players come off the board, hoping Logan Wilson would make it to their pick. The big difference, it's another older linebacker prospect, but there's a lot to like. The difference here is it's the second round. It's not the third round. If it's the third round, I feel pretty differently about this pick.
Interesting. So do you look at this pick as maybe a bit of a reach?
Absolutely. To me, this is a round and a half-ish too early based on the board that we put together before the draft, based on the consensus board. It's just a bit early. It's nothing about the player. I like the player. I think he starts right away for the Bengals. I just think it's a player that they could have taken later, and the pick right before them got traded. The pick 2 picks later got traded. There were teams looking to trade in the vicinity. Maybe the Bengals didn't like those offers. Maybe the Bengals didn't get those offers. We usually don't know about those things, but it seemed like that was a tradable pick. And it seemed like from the outside looking in and from all of the information we had available to us, this was a player that they could have picked later. And with the offensive line options that were available, namely Tate Ratledge, who was picked later in the second round by the Detroit Lions, that would have felt significantly better to me if I were doing things. Obviously, I'm not. The Bengals are doing what they think is best for their team. I think it's pretty easy to sell me on protecting Joe Burrow being best for the team.
Yeah, and I can actually agree with you on that one. Being here in Atlanta, having an opportunity to cover Tate, yeah, he's definitely special, and I can totally see. And I know there may be some concerns maybe about injuries or whatever, but when he is healthy, Jake, I mean, he's scary good. So I certainly can understand that. But going back to something you said as well, just in terms of that day one availability or that day one readiness for Demetrius Knight Jr., what do you need to see in him throughout camp and as he's progressing to week 1? What do you need to see so that he is ready week 1?
It's really what we see from him in the preseason, I think. He's an older player, right? He's experienced a lot of football, but that football is college football, which for the linebacker position, very, very different from what they're going to be expected to take on in the NFL. So how he deals with NFL level, guards climbing to the second level, if they get to face a team that utilizes a fullback in the preseason and taking on a lead blocker and something that you don't see as much, even in the SEC, the college game, just such a spaced out game for the most part at this point. But he is a good blitzer. He is known for very strong character. He's going to have an A+ grade for character related reasons. And maybe that's part of the reason they make the pick, is that they needed that leader type of player. And maybe that's something they expect him to grow into. I don't think it's fair to expect him to be that as a rookie. But I think for me, it's when the pads come on, when it's live contact in the preseason, how is he faring at that point? Because I expect him to have every opportunity to take all of the first team reps throughout camp if he's a second round pick, and he was. So I think that's his job to lose right now.
Appreciate the time, Jake. And for continuing coverage of the Bengals, subscribe to Locked On Bengals wherever you get your podcasts.